Hey guys, it's Beck and Kristen here, and today we're talking about bran mashes, why we don't really feed them anymore, and what we do in place of the bran mash, kind of all the information we've learned over time and everything else. So first, let's start with why originally we were doing bran mashes, typically.
So originally we were doing bran mashes because that's what our vets recommended to get more water into our horses to prevent an impaction colic, because we all hate that four-letter word.
And potentially to help treat it if they were going through a little bit of something, but it wasn't quite bad enough that they had to go into the vet.
Right.
You know, I remember when I first started working here and everything, that was one of the things we do is like, okay, they seem to be colicking a little bit. Let's give them the bran mash, maybe some mineral oil with it, you know, to try to help move things along. And just over time, you know, the vets and everyone else have just gotten more research and more information, and that it doesn't actually help as much as originally thought. Now, it helped in the sense that it was liquid and it was going through and everything else. However, the bran mash itself was
Causing gastrointestinal upset, largely because it was a change in their feed. So what the vets are suggesting now is that whatever grain supplement you give them, especially if it is something like Equine Senior, that can actually, you know, it's designed to become a mush. There, of course, are some grains that don't do that, and they wouldn't make a good mash. And that's one of the reasons why I like Replenimash. If you guys don't feed that, that's fantastic. And that's one of the reasons.
Purina.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons.
It has electrolytes in it, so we give it quite often. So after we work our horses, throughout the day, they'll get it. So even if they're not out on the school horses' days off, they'll still get it. And sometimes multiple times a day, you know, if it's hotter out, colder out, weather, different things. And since we've been using that one, and actually it started before we were using Replenimash, because if you recall, it really started when we were doing a thirst quencher,
right?
You know, but we found that the horses actually prefer the Replenimash over the quencher.
And I like that the Replenimash has the Outlast product in it, the stomach buffer. I think that that's a phenomenal product.
Yeah.
And we do feed it every day, so that if we have to add more of it, we're not upsetting their GI tract. They're used to it.
And one of the things I'll note for anyone watching this who does have Replenimash and does it, if you follow the instructions on the back and everything, it is more of a mash because we use it so often and on so many horses, and it is not a cheap product. No. We do a 5-gallon bucket with about 1.5 handfuls, 1 to 2 handfuls of the Replenimash. So it's just in there, it's sprinkled in there, it's getting the electrolytes a little bit, and it's flavoring it so that even our pickiest drinkers will want it. But it's not fully a mash, but you can do it either way. But just to let you know, if you have a number of horses, you know, like, that's a lot of mash. That's how we're doing it. So they're still getting the mash quantity eventually, but it's over time, and it is a lot more fluid.
And just so you know, if you do feed the mash the way it is designed, it has the amount of electrolytes in it that a horse excretes in 30 minutes of exercise. So for us, you know, we really try to monitor that and say, okay, because we know if a horse doesn't have enough electrolytes, they're just going to pee out all the water that they're intaking.
Yeah.
But back to why we don't feed the bran mash anymore. There's the gastrointestinal upset, but then there's also a calcium phosphorus imbalance in it, which is not good for their body at all. So you can't feed it on a regular basis. You don't get the calcium phosphorus imbalance in like 1 or 2 feedings, but it's not something that you could feed on a daily basis because it would make their blood work upside down and affect them negatively.
Yeah.
So we've replaced that with the Replenimash. We also do soaked cubes Don't feed your cubes hard. I know people say you can do it. It's bad. Okay, just don't do it.
It's a choking hazard.
It's a choking hazard.
And we all know horses. They are always looking for ways to unalive themselves. We don't need to help them out.
Yeah.
We don't need to help them with it. They are always looking for trouble.
Yes, they are. But replenish, you don't have to do that to get water in them. There's also been some research done, and I think people would find this really interesting. If provided just water alone, during the summertime, horses generally don't decrease their water intake. And I feel that that's because they're working hard, it's hot out, all that stuff, and water sounds good. But in the winter, if you just provide water alone, on average, they decrease their water intake by 10 to 15%. That is heated or not heated. We know that when the water is heated to about 55 degrees, that they are more inclined to drink than when it's not heated. But interestingly enough, they prefer the cold water versus the hot water. So don't give them both, or warm water, right? Yeah. So they will drink less of the cold water, but they will prefer it. So a lot of you guys, we might think about just giving mashes in the summertime, but I would really encourage you to do it on a daily basis in the wintertime and monitor your horse's manure, monitor what it looks like. Is it hard? Is it soft? Does it smell? Does it not smell? Right? Manure that smells could mean that it's been sitting in there for a long time. And small, hard fecal balls, get ahead of that. If you can get your horse to drink a whole 5-gallon bucket of water, with a little bit of replenish or whatever you use to flavor it, we'd love to know your thoughts on what you guys do. So drop that in the comments. It's kind of like tubing your horse, because that's what the veterinarian does, right? They put some electrolytes and some mineral oil. They do add that in there to flush everything out. Some vets don't do mineral oils anymore. So
yeah, it just depends.
Yeah, it just depends on what they're looking for. But this is, we've seen a reduction in colics here. And in the northern Nevada, man, our weather is crazy. We're going to have 10 degrees at night and 55 in the day. It's hard for them here.
Particularly around this time.
Yeah.
Stabilizes in late spring and summer, but
yeah, maybe.
Sometimes we have wind.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, let us know your thoughts, and we'd love to hear what you guys feed and what you're doing and what you think of our options. So, Thank you so much.